I'll get that. Hello, Fred. Hello, Woody. Goodbye, Woody.
What changes has this hit TV series made in your life?
Not too many, other than the fact that I sleep at night now instead of sleeping in the day as I did when I was working at a nightclub.
What actually happened? I was working in a nightclub in Los Angeles, and Aaron Rubin, the producer, he happened to be in the club that night.
For years, Sanford and Son was a hugely popular show that had fans laughing week after week. But behind all the jokes and Fred Sanford's crazy antics, there were some surprising real-life moments too. From backstage drama to unforgettable episodes, there's a lot more to this classic show than just the laughs. Let's dive into what made Sanford and Son so special, both on screen and behind the scenes. But first, if you enjoy learning about the hidden stories behind your favorite celebrities and the shocking moments that changed their lives forever, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss these incredible untold stories. The story of Sanford and Son begins in an unexpected place, not in Hollywood, but across the ocean in Britain. NBC executives were desperately searching for something to compete with CBS's groundbreaking hit, All in the Family, and they found their inspiration in a British comedy called Steptoe and Son. But here's where things get interesting. The original plan wasn't to feature the characters we all came to love. NBC initially wanted to create an American version starring two Italian men, convinced that a show featuring a predominantly black cast wouldn't succeed in mainstream America. Can you imagine how different television history would have been if they had stuck with that plan? Thankfully, after testing the concept with Italian actors Paul Sorvino and Barney Hughes, and finding it fell flat, NBC took a leap of faith that would change everything. They decided to trust in the original vision, and on January 14, 1972, America was introduced to Fred G. Sanford and his son Lamont. From the very first episode, something magical happened. Red Fox, the comedian who brought Fred Sanford to life, transformed from a relatively unknown stand-up performer into a household name practically overnight. His portrayal of the grumpy, scheming junk dealer struck a chord with audiences that went far beyond what anyone had expected. Paired with Demond Wilson as the more level-headed Lamont, the duo created television gold with their constant bickering, heartfelt moments, and unforgettable catchphrases. The show's impact was immediate and undeniable. By its first season, Sanford and Son had crashed into the top 10 most-watched shows in America. It was so popular that it actually knocked the beloved Brady Bunch off ABC's lineup in 1974. Think about that for a moment. A show about a black junk dealer and his son was so compelling that it beat out America's favorite wholesome family. That's the kind of cultural shift that happens maybe once in a generation. But success in Hollywood often comes with a price, and for Red Fox, that price was about to become very, very expensive. By 1973, as the show reached the height of its popularity, ranking as the second most-watched program in America behind only All in the Family, Fox began to realize something that would set the stage for one of television's most dramatic behind-the-scenes battles. He was making $19,000 per episode, which sounds like good money, right? But here's the kicker. Carol O'Connor, the star of All in the Family, was making $25,000 per episode, plus 25% of the show's profits. Meanwhile, Sanford and Son was pulling in massive ratings and generating millions in revenue for NBC and the production company Tandem Productions. Fox looked at these numbers and felt something that would drive him to make a decision that shocked the entire industry. He felt cheated. Now you have to understand Red Fox's background to appreciate what happened next. Born John Elroy Sanford in St. Louis, Missouri, Fox had spent decades grinding it out in comedy clubs, often performing for predominantly black audiences who appreciated his raw, uncensored humor. He had struggled for years, working small venues and dealing with the harsh realities of being a black entertainer in an industry that often overlooked talent based on skin color. When Sanford and Son became a hit, it wasn't just career success for Fox. It was validation of everything he had worked for his entire life. So when he realized he was being paid significantly less than his white counterpart despite generating comparable ratings and revenue, something inside Red Fox snapped. The year was 1974, right in the middle of what should have been the show's golden period. Ratings were through the roof, Fans couldn't get enough of Fred Sanford's hilarious schemes and fake heart attacks, and NBC was riding high on Friday night dominance. Everything seemed perfect from the outside. But on what seemed like any other filming day, Red Fox made a decision that would send shockwaves through Hollywood. He walked off the set of Sanford and Son and refused to come back until his demands were met. The official story was that Fox was dealing with health issues, but industry insiders knew the truth. This was about money, respect, and recognition. Fox's demands were simple but bold. He wanted his salary increased to match Carol O'Connor's $25,000 per episode, and he wanted 25% of the show's profits. To put this in perspective, we're talking about a show that was generating millions of dollars in revenue. This wasn't just asking for a raise. This was asking for a fundamental change in how black performers were compensated in Hollywood. The response from Tandem Productions was swift and brutal. And they didn't just reject his demands. They sued Red Fox for $10 million. $10 million. Think about the audacity of that move. Here was a performer who had helped create one of television's biggest hits. And instead of negotiating, the production company decided to take him to court for having the nerve to ask for equal treatment. What happened next was unprecedented in television history. For the first few episodes of Season 4, Sanford and Son continued filming without its star. Can you imagine watching your favorite show and having the main character simply not there? It was surreal for everyone involved. The cast, the crew, and especially the fans who had no idea what was really happening behind the scenes. NBC found themselves in an impossible position. They had a massive hit show that was suddenly missing its biggest draw. The network executives were probably having nightmares, wondering if they were about to lose one of their most valuable properties over what they likely saw as an uppity performer making unreasonable demands. But Fox held firm, even as the lawsuit loomed over him like a storm cloud. The standoff continued for months, with both sides digging in their heels. Industry observers watched with fascination and concern. Would this be the end of Sanford and Son? Would Red Fox's career survive such a bold move? The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife, and everyone in Hollywood was taking sides. Finally, in June 1974, after months of legal battles and behind-the-scenes negotiations, a resolution was reached. The details of the settlement weren't immediately public, but Red Fox had won. He got his raise to $25,000 per episode, matching Carol O'Connor's salary. More importantly, he secured his 25% share of the show's profits, a victory that would have far-reaching implications not just for his own bank account, but for how black performers would be treated in future negotiations. NBC, recognizing the value of their star, made Fox's return a major event. They held back the episodes that had been filmed without him and promoted his comeback as the big season premiere. It was a smart move that acknowledged both his importance to the show and the network's recognition that they had made a mistake in how they initially handled the situation. But the victory came with costs that went beyond money. The relationship between Fox and the production team had been permanently altered. Trust had been broken, and while they managed to work together for the remainder of the show's run, there was an underlying tension that many cast and crew members could feel on set. The drama also highlighted some uncomfortable truths about the entertainment industry in the 1970s. Despite the progress that shows like Sanford and Son represented in terms of representation, the business side of television was still very much an old boys club, where black performers were expected to be grateful for whatever they were offered. Fox's stand wasn't just about his own compensation. It was about challenging a system that had historically undervalued black talent. Interestingly, rumors circulated that the conflict wasn't solely about money. Some industry insiders claimed that Fox was also upset about his dressing room situation. Apparently, he was bothered that his room didn't have a window while other stars enjoyed better accommodations. While this might seem petty on the surface, it actually speaks to a deeper issue of respect and how small symbols can represent larger patterns of discrimination. The impact of Fox's walkout extended far beyond Sanford and Son. Other black performers took notice of his successful stand, and it became a case study in how talent could leverage their value to demand better treatment. It was one of the first times a black television star had successfully challenged the system in such a public and dramatic way. However, the controversy also revealed some of the personal costs of taking such a stand. The stress of the legal battle and the public scrutiny took a toll on Fox, who had always been more comfortable making people laugh than dealing with corporate politics. Friends and colleagues noticed changes in his demeanor, and some wondered if the victory had been worth the emotional price he paid. The show continued successfully after Fox's return, but the industry was watching closely to see if there would be any long-term consequences. Would viewers stay loyal after learning about the behind-the-scenes drama? Would NBC and other networks think twice before working with performers who might make similar demands? As it turned out, audiences remained devoted to Fred Sanford and his antics. The show's ratings stayed strong, and Fox's popularity actually seemed to increase among fans who admired his willingness to stand up for himself. It was a powerful demonstration that talent, when properly leveraged, could overcome even the most entrenched industry practices. But the story doesn't end there. By 1977, as Sanford and Son was facing declining ratings and increased competition, ABC came calling with an offer that Red Fox couldn't refuse. They wanted him to host his own variety show, the Red Fox Comedy Hour, and they were willing to pay him handsomely for it. After 6 successful seasons as Fred Sanford, Fox decided it was time to move on to new challenges. His departure marked the end of an era, but it also represented the completion of a transformation that had begun with his walkout in 1974. Red Fox had evolved from a performer who was grateful for any opportunity into a star who understood his worth and wasn't afraid to demand it. The man who had once struggled in small comedy clubs had become a television icon with the power to dictate his own terms. The attempted spin-offs that followed, Sanford Arms and later Sanford, never captured the magic of the original show. Without the chemistry between Red Fox and Demond Wilson, the formula that had worked so perfectly fell flat. It was a reminder that the success of Sanford and Son had been built on more than just clever writing or good timing. It had been built on the authentic relationship between two performers who brought their characters to life in a way that couldn't be replicated. Looking back at the Sanford and Son controversy today, it's clear that Red Fox's stand was about much more than money. It was about dignity, respect, and the right of talented performers to be compensated fairly regardless of the race. His victory helped pave the way for future generations of black entertainers to demand better treatment and equal pay. The lessons from this dramatic chapter extend beyond the entertainment industry. Fox's story demonstrates the importance of knowing your worth, standing up for yourself even when it's uncomfortable, and being willing to take calculated risks to achieve fairness. His walkout could have ended his career, but instead, it enhanced his legacy and proved that sometimes the biggest risks yield the greatest rewards. Today, as we continue to grapple with issues of equality and fair representation in entertainment, the story of Red Fox and Sanford and Son serves as both an inspiration and a reminder of how far we've come. The show that almost ended due to a contract dispute became a lasting testament to the power of authentic storytelling and the importance of fighting for what you believe you deserve. The next time you watch those classic episodes of Fred Sanford clutching his chest and calling out, "Elizabeth, I'm coming!" remember that behind those laughs was a real man who refused to accept less than his worth, and whose courage helped change an industry forever.